Hi, I'm Jason Underwood, and I'm going to show you how to efficiently design a NobelProcera e.max crown. So when the scan gets loaded into the design module, the first step is path of insertion. Now what I do is I use top view and I look at the interproximal contacts as well as the insertion direction of the crown. From there I use my from view, and that gives me a nice path of insertion, usually with no undercuts. Next step is simply just tell the software where the lingual is. From there we go into the margin design, and I start off typically with the overhead view, and I go around the margin and I basically eliminate any little short margins. I'll add points as I need, but I try to avoid adding too many points, as that can get a little bit crowded. So from there I turn on my overhead light and I open my 2D viewer, and then most of the time I start off in the buckle. I want to start off in the same place just to try to create a pattern, and that way I'm not just going over the margin constantly. This is an area where I find a lot of technicians can spend a lot of time and not necessarily making any improvements to the crown, but just wasting time. So it looks good. So our crown placement tool, again, not spending very much time. I basically want to get that crown on my model. Now, when I'm designing full contour e.max, I like to basically follow a couple steps. I want to do crown placement and use the anatomy tool to wear down my cuss tips, which you'll see. Then I go into my emergence profile, and I use the drag surface to really define my emergence profile. I also like to, after that, is work on my interproximal heights, as well as fine-tuning the bite registration. Now this case here is actually a real case, and we're tight on room, so it's not a demo model. So this is where I really utilize my crown placement tool to get that crown lined up the best I can. So actually looks pretty good. The more time I spend getting it lined up properly, the less time I have to spend fine-tuning it with drag surface and the other features. Probably bring my occlusal up a little bit. And this is the tool I was telling you about to wear the cuss tips down. So play around with this, and you'll figure out kind of what percentage works best for the wear. But that looks pretty good. So if I go into my deformations, I now can control where my cuss tips are. So that actually looks pretty good. You can also use these blue handles to move in your contour as well of your crown. So next step is crown emergence. Just get rid of everything. And what I usually do is I usually bring this line up. It tends to be a little bit low. Now again, I don't spend a ton of time on this particular feature, as I like to do it a little bit with a lot more with the drag surface instead. But what I usually do is I usually do flatten off my interproximal areas. So down to my local deformations, and right away I change my tool to large and turn on my perpendicular tool. And so by basically rotating the crown, I get a really good idea of how my contour is, just like if you were to be waxing up a gold crown or a full contour PFM. And again, I'm looking on both these sides here. If I want to broaden my contacts, I can also do that at this point. So overall, looks pretty good. Broaden that contact out a bit. Now the next step I do is I look down the occlusion, and I want to adjust the height the height of my interproximal. So it actually looks pretty good. Look from a mesial view. And just define that a little bit more. Also want to make sure my tool, I bring it down to a medium as well. I don't want to move too much material at once. So that looks pretty good. At this point I can also just build out the crown if I want. Build up any cuss tips if I feel I need those. And I would also check the thickness as well while I'm doing this, just to make sure that I'm not overlooking. So I got a couple areas that are a little bit thin. So I'll simply thicken those up. Just using my drag surface tool. Check that again. Looks good. Now I'll double check my bite, which actually looks pretty good. And this is where that crown placement tool really helps, because it saves you a lot of time. Local smoothing, so if I want to smoothen off my contacts a little bit. There we go. And then I'll check my interproximal contact, so you can see this one's a little bit heavy. So I'll just use my smoothing tool with continuous on, and I'll just define that a little bit better. Now I like to leave them a little bit positive so that I can adjust them when they come back on the model. And there you go. That's how I design an efficient NobelProcera e.max crown.